Hey everybody, this is the Facebook Ads with a Twang podcast. I'm your host, Ben Blackman, and today we're starting our Back to the Basics series. This is part 1 of 67. No, I'm just kidding. It's not 67. This is part 1. I think it's like 10 or 11 episodes that we'll do. And this episode is going to be about starting with your audience and your offer. So I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Facebook Ads with a Twang is dedicated to taking the often overcomplicated process of creating simple, successful Facebook ads, breaking them down step by step in less than 10 minutes at a time. Let's get started. All right, welcome everybody to the Back to the Basics series, and this is part 1. So I'm glad to have you here. And as I mentioned on the last episode, we're just going to go through the next, I guess it's going to be 10 or 11 episodes about how to just, stick with the basics regarding Facebook ads and trying to quit getting caught up in all the fancy stuff. Because most of the time that stuff's either not effective or not effective for most advertisers. So, everything that we do is measured against something else, and you have what we call a control. So like when you put together an ad, you'll run a bunch of different ads and you'll find one that outperforms all the rest, right? And so then you spend the rest of your time trying to figure out another ad that's going to perform better than that original ad, which is called the control. The funny thing is almost it usually never happens. I say usually never. That's not really true. It often doesn't happen, at least not quickly, that you find an ad to beat the control. And so that's kind of the way it is with a lot of the features and stuff that come out with Facebook. So anyway, so that's why we want to keep it basic, keep it simple. All right, so let's talk about the first part to a really successful Facebook ads. And it really starts with your audience. That's where it starts, okay? And so a lot of people start with their offer. So I realize that. Okay, I realize a lot of people get really excited about what it is that they want to do, and they start with their offer first and then look for the audience second. And so I'm not going to try to fight that. Okay, even though it's better to start with the audience first, figure out what they want, and I am going to go over that a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and preach about it. Okay, but I do want you to consider this and think about this, especially if you are your own audience, if that makes sense, right? And I heard this from somebody else. I didn't come up with this on my own, but so imagine your offer is a bottle and you are inside that bottle, right? So you know everything there is to know about your offer. You know exactly what you're talking about, exactly what it is, and everything else. Well, your audience is outside that bottle. They don't know what's inside. You have to explain it to them in a way that they're going to understand what's inside the bottle. And the problem is when we're too close to our own offer because we think we're our own audience, we tend to speak to the audience as if they already know everything. And that's a problem. You really want to, and I hate to say it like this, but you really want to dumb down your offers, okay? Make sure the way you're speaking to them is very basic, very simple. And listen, I am the king of trying to explain way too much, and it's a lot of times it's just because I want to give more value. I want to make sure people know everything that they need to know. But for the most part, that's not super effective because I can't teach you everything that there is to know about Facebook ads in 10 minutes. I mean, I just can't, right? I can't do it in an hour. Right? There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of things you have to do to go through. I just can't explain it all. But unfortunately, and that's part of the reason that I make these episodes 10 minutes or less, to keep myself in check, to quit trying to over-explain everything. Okay? So really just kind of remember that when you're thinking about your offer and thinking about your ads and everything else. So let's start with your audience. So I'm going to give you an example. So who do you want to serve? Well, let's just say you want to serve women who are 40 to 50 years old, okay, that are separated or divorced. They have kids. So you know those basic fundamental things about what's going on with them, right? So how do you figure out what to offer them? Well, what are their 3 top problems And you can do this with anybody, right? Any audience. So what are their 3 top problems that they would pay to have solved, right? Not 3 simple problems, but 3 problems that are really going on. So for them, it might be, I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all, but it might be relationships. They're having relationship problems with their spouse or significant other or whatever. Parenting skills. Maybe they can't seem to get through to their kids. That's a potential big problem. Or maybe they're having autoimmune issues, health issues. That could be a big problem. So when you're thinking about that, so out of those 3, one of those is probably their quote unquote bleeding neck type of problem, right? When you have a bleeding neck, you gotta deal with it. You can't put it off. So out of those 3, I would pick number 3. Okay, but it could be any one of them really. So it depends on who you want to serve and how you want to speak to them. So the next question is can you reach them with Facebook ads? And so that's what happens is a lot of times, even though the targeting is amazing for Facebook, it doesn't mean that you can reach everybody with every kind of issue, right? And so there's really only 2 ways to reach them. One, you have a targeting audience that's narrow enough that you can get in front of them with your offer and it appeals to them and they take action. Or you can't narrow the audience, but you have such a high budget that you can run through a very big audience and still make the numbers work. So I hope that makes sense. So when you're targeting, on Facebook, are you able to select targeting options that are narrow enough that, hey, your ideal audience is going to be the majority of the people inside of that narrow targeting audience? Or if you can't get narrow, do you have a high enough budget to go through enough people to get to your ideal person? And so you may not have the answer to that up front, okay? Sometimes that takes research. One of the ways that you can research it is you can go in and actually input an ad and then take a look at what the numbers are when you're actually doing your targeting, and you can kind of see. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Okay, when we get into targeting and stuff like that. Which, by the way, I was thinking about this before when I was talking about input and everything else. I am covering targeting under the ad sets. So in case somebody had asked me if I was going to be covering that, because I didn't mention it in the list that I'd given before. So yes, I will be covering that. All right. So then the last thing is, what can you offer them? So remember, in this particular case, we're talking about people with autoimmune issues or women with autoimmune issues. What can we offer them to help them? So maybe it's a product, maybe it's supplements, right? Maybe there's specific kind of supplements that might help. Maybe it's some kind of device or something like that. I mean, could be a particular offer. Maybe it's a course on how to, eat better or do specific exercises or something along those lines. Or maybe it's coaching, one-on-one coaching or group coaching or something like that. And so that's what you do. You develop that offer based on what you know about the audience, okay? And so that's how that works. You have to come up with, who's an audience with a bleeding neck problem that's willing to pay to have their problem solved. Well, that's an audience that's willing to pay to have their problem solved. And I know because I see it. I run ads to it every day. And so I know there's a ton of people out there in that audience that are dying to have somebody actually help them. And so those are just different kinds of offers that you can make. So that's kind of how that works, okay? I don't want to get too far into it because I want to keep it kind of high level and get you just kind of thinking about it. So on the next episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what funnel you're going to use to really, get them to take action or to get, the ball rolling and get the process started. All right. Again, if you want to get the video part of this series, the Back to the Basics series, then go to marketingwithatwang.com/basics, and then you can either join the wait list right there, or the videos could be ready, so you could go ahead and sign up and start getting the videos right there. All right, I will see you guys on episode 103.